Oh boy. Just when you thought once was enough, it's gotta happen to you again. And by again, I mean it's been a week since the previous GTA McDonald's incident, and a bunch of VHS tapes and DVDs keep popping up in the restaurant parking lot and ball pit like roses in bloom. I ain't about to reach for any of those thorny suckers. Superman, Beetlejuice, Casper, WWF. I ain't watching or reading any of those, man. I'm pretty sure they're intended as a bad influence on me by somebody. And those lost episode villains? Listen, it may just be my paranoid schizophrenia acting up, but they're after me, bro. Tim the Toolman Taylor forced me to wear Buddy Holly glasses and tied me to a radiator. The Fresh Prince threw a backwards red ball cap atop my nobly baldish head. And Alf, yes, that's right, Alf keeps asking me if McDonald's burger meat contains cat guts. Or at least if that was an option. Well, it very well may be, but I'm not purring about anything going on in my life right now. All I want is to eat, drink, and be merry. And for all of that to come in the form of big red clown shoes, golden arches, even those accursed milk and apple slices that water down the festivities of McSalt, McGrease, McTransfat, and my oh my, McCholesterol. You know, my favorite person had just sent me some good advice about hydrating and drinking water, speaking of, so as not to die from diseases that sound worse than AIDS. I'm not sure why I'm always thinking about AIDS, sorry. Since I'd downed an entire bottle of red wine in a frenzy at the local McD's while children watched on in terror, despite the service workers trying to cover their eyes. The manager had decided I brought in too much business to tell me to go home and never come back, so he allowed me to scribble the name of the wine on the ordering kiosk in permanent marker and press the button and pretend to order it, kind of like when you give your toddler one of those play phones. But I'm no toddler. I'm just a middle-aged man with brain problems who shoves internet time taken away from him ASAP. I'm frickin' insane. I went to sit down in my usual spot toward the back of the restaurant, where there was little noise and I could lick my vanilla cone erotically and not feel judged. But just then, I heard the sound of a gunshot. It was coming from the bathroom. Who had ever heard of an act of pointless violence in such a sacred place as a fast food laboratory? I put my shirt and pants back on and ran faster than a flock of seagulls into the McMen's room to discover. Oh no. Oh no. Please please me. Oh yeah, like I'd please you. If you also had my kinds of problems and were in need of sweet mercy. It was all the lost episode characters again. Puerto Vallarta luchador comic Sans the Man Hernandez was drinking from the dirty tap water with his mask caught up on the faucet, as if he never heard of Montezuma's Revenge. The Smurfs were pelting me with McCrispy bits while ogling and leering at me, and Batman and Robin were taking turns pissing into the urinal while humming Skibbity Toilet, which made no sense, because again, that's not a toilet. You didn't hear anything, Jerry Seinfeld exclaimed, while George Costanza screamed at SpongeBob SquarePants about how fries could be used as McFlurry utensils. SpongeBob was dead, I think. His eyes were closed, at least. But I did hear something. Somebody got shot. It was really bad, I retorted. LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow responded by pulling down my pants and underwear from behind. And every single last one of the lost episode characters laughed at what they saw. I have epididymitis! I screamed. I have epididymitis! Just then, Carlton from The Fresh Prince did the moonwalk, throwing molten hot McCoffee in my face, claiming he put a webcam in my childhood bedroom, which I sometimes live out of as a 40-plus-year-old man with problems, and that he forced sumo wrestler pornography on all my tablets because I criticized one of his dances several years ago. My nose melted off. A clear and obvious reference to MJ's rhinoplasties. I ran out of the bathroom and informed the manager, who I now consider to be one of the good guys in my life, that McMurder had broken out of the McRestroom. Oh, I stumbled into the parking lot and futilely grasped at my now exposed naval cavity. A bird flew by and grasped my Fred Durst cap with its beak, flying off with a freedom unlike any I'll ever know, while a health insurance mascot with an obscured identity gorilla glued a bright red clown nose where that vital sensor and respiratory organ used to be. I don't know who he is. I don't know where he works. It doesn't matter now. I fell to the asphalt in so much pain that I breathed as well as Fat Albert in a high altitude city. When I woke up, I was naked. Pretty typical for me. But I never got my vintage Donkey Kong t shirt back, and I really do miss it. I was informed by my captor, the Mayor McCheese, who happened to be in drag, that I had to play a PlayStation 2 Grand Theft Auto plus McDonald's game, and that if I did exactly as he said, I'd not only be able to taste freedom for the very first time in my life, but he'd give me back my schizophrenia medication. Okay, I'm not going to act like the game itself was bad. It was actually pretty solid. I drove the Batmobile up the Philadelphia Art Museum steps and put a Cowboys jersey on the Rocky statue. I'm an Eagles fan again. This was part of the diabolical plan before the cops shot me and I lost a life. Some pigeons were arguing atop some telephone wires about whether it can be called breaking and entering or even trespassing if you claim the apartment door was unlocked. I'm unsure if it was part of the narrative, but I did get some target practice shooting at them. Esto es culpa de Trump! A pigeon exclaimed as it hit the floor and bled orange fan out onto the urban sidewalk. I asked my captor for an orange high C, but he pistol whipped me and I continued playing. I stopped at Gino's and got a cheesesteak, and there was a pretty cool minigame about spitting on the ground and using a Wawa trash receptacle as the dining table. Suddenly, I heard another gunshot coming from the bathroom, but it may have just been a hallucination. If you think about it, the very essence of sensation and perception ensures that all things are hallucinations, because phenomena like sights and sounds don't really exist without your body interpreting them as such. McCheese started pouring gasoline around me and reached for some matches, but I trusted that he was actually a good guy inside and that this wasn't, a trap. Oh, crap! My spaceship! I could hear George Jetson shriek out from the men's room. I know. My character visited some place called WIP Studios and called into sports talk radio, claiming that Nick Foles used steroids and tasty cakes taste like edible AIDS. Some big shot radio host named Paul Jolovitz disconnected the call and shot me in the face, and my character died. I sobbed at having to talk so much smack about my beloved Philadelphia, city of brotherly love, and swearing at your neighbor for calling your pet dog gay. Apparently, Jolly had been eating a Big Mac, which was the sole McDonald's moment of this entire game. But the final act was now in place. I had to walk up to the Liberty Bell and moon it, crack against crack. A man in a Ben Franklin costume was playing an acoustic guitar and singing some dashboard confessional emo shit. So I ran him over with, my stolen car, which did have a dashboard, and this is my confessional. I was just about to press my ass cheek against good old copper and tin when a message popped on screen that the game believed me, and I didn't actually have to go ahead and do it. I thought I was done, but then the game switched over to a children's cartoon of all things, in which a purple rabbit dressed up as a dentist tried to convince children all around the world to brush your teeth or they die of mouth herpes by nightfall. I guess it was an okay cartoon. I didn't know what it had to do with anything, though. The cartoon elephant held up a serrated toothbrush with its trunk and started stabbing a leprechaun repeatedly in the heart with it. I wouldn't want to put that thing in my mouth or any other orifice, Not my thing. The final scene was a bald eagle squawking out a bunch of at least seemingly arbitrary hypotheticals. Would you rather root for Dallas or believe 9/11 was an inside job? Would you rather convince Sarah Palin that the earth is flat or choose which one of your children had to die in a few minutes? Would you rather break the law and violate somebody's mental health and security repeatedly and act like I'm still grateful for the time I spent knowing you, or Mayor McCheese turned the game/cartoon off, and by that I mean he'd set himself on fire with the gasoline and matches from earlier, and his corpse fell into the console, shutting it off. I was somehow still alive, but I think it's because my heart is so cold and empty. There's simply no way anything could set that thing on fire. Except, my favorite person who I think about every 5 seconds. She's pretty cool. Another gunshot rang out from the bathroom. It was Jesus, or perhaps Chad Kroger from Nickelback. He was grinning from ear to ear. Place is closed for now, bucko. We have to clean up for the health inspector. So, what can I tell you now? Well, first of all, I'm glad that Jesus killed off those lost episode villains. In fact, I haven't seen any lost episode villains for a few days. McDee's was back open by the day after, and I made sure to stop by several dozen times. And nobody was arrested or killed besides a kidnapper. So what's there to be irate about? I'd rather go ghost hunting with my head full of ghosts than eat anywhere else, because breakfast would be ruined. So it'll take a little more than what I've been through to keep me from stepping into the constant series of traps that are, at the very least, associated with those golden arches. If my favorite person can still care a lot about me despite knowing even more than my history of captors just how fucking insane I am, and I think I can have a few dozen more adventures at America's favorite dine and dash. Besides, I never got my medication back. Or any of my clothes. Ba 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 ba.